currently we are in the phase of major energy changes. The frequency of the planet Earth is rising and having these huge ups and downs. And we may feel them, many of us may feel them the way that we have those huge mood shifts, and sometimes we feel extremely tired even though we had a great sleep and we have certain established routines and we're doing things similar as before, but sometimes we feel extremely tired and we feel a bit dizzy and we feel like out of balance. And when we feel like that during these powerful energy changes, we really need to make sure that we stay in balance with ourselves, that we take care of ourselves and we nurture ourselves the way that helps us to flow with this energy changes. And today I wrote this message that really connects with what we'll be talking today. And the message goes like this: when you are in balance, fear is a choice, joy is a choice, and spiritual connection is a choice. Balance is a state in which we choose how we will experience our lives. Your impulsiveness is pulling you out of it, and your job is to learn to control and manage it so you can make wise choices from a state of balance rather than emotional reactions. You become who you are practicing to be. And if this already resonates with you, hit the like button because it helps to bring this message to those who need to hear it. So thank you so much. Also, let me know in the comment section, how are you feeling right now? How are you feeling during these intense times, interesting times? We can't ignore that the world is going through a huge transition. When we look around and we see a huge change in weather, we see a huge change in people's behaviors, and we see many changes in our approach to life. We kind of feel called to expand our perception, to learn to perceive more, to learn to sense the fundamental truth behind whatever is happening. Not an intellectual one, but rather more intuitive one. The one that connects us to life. Like, what's the meaning of that? Because sometimes, if we go into the wisdom of shamanism, shamans had this great understanding of why sometimes we experience extremes in weather and changes on the planet, like when we have great floods or fire or things like that. They say that to those who are exposed to floods, they needed a medicine of water. To those who've been exposed to fire, they needed a medicine of fire. That's how they've been looking on these events. And sometimes it sounds quite hard because many people may be affected by that. And I'm sending my prayers to anyone who was affected by any extremes of nature. It's not easy to deal with that. But from another perspective, sometimes we may recognize that water washes away what was not in alignment with life, what was not necessary for us anymore. And when we look at ourselves from that new perspective, we ask ourselves what life is calling me to be, who my life or life is calling me to become. And that's where we kind of start to feel called for change, for transformation, to become more that we can be. That's why many people are experiencing this merge between logic and spiritual understanding, between the left brain hemisphere and the right brain hemisphere. Many people are experiencing this connection, like when you're studying what's happening on the world and you investigate the spiritual connection with it. Is this helping us to become more connected? Because some time ago we had extreme floods in Slovenia as well, and what we've noticed that as soon as it started happening, people come together. In the villages, people come together and they immediately, without asking, there was more help from people than it was needed. And that's when we noticed that when there are times of extremes, people wake up to their natural senses, to their nature, which is a generous need to support one another, a generous need to be compassionate and kind towards one another, so we can be in equilibrium, so we can be in balance and in harmony with one another. But we tend to lose that connection, that sense, when everything is going well. And as we are rising in consciousness, we are aiming towards keeping this sense of generous kindness, of generous connection, of generous support for one another, even when everything is good. So we can evolve into who we came here to be and really become all that life wants us to be. And this is what is happening right now. So many people already feel called to be all that you can be, to keep evolving, to keep growing, to keep expanding yourself and following those intuitive impulses. In the message I mentioned, as long as we're impulsively pulled towards something, we will be kind of pulled out of balance. Like when we have those emotional impulses to be angry towards someone or to feel drawn to a certain unhealthy food just because we feel deeply unsatisfied or because we have a certain imbalance within our minds, we have to take care of those impulses. And once we take care of them, like we learn to self-regulate, we learn to calm down our nervous system, we learn to kind of harmonize our energy, we kind of get in touch with our intuitive impulses that are much more gentle and much more pleasant, and they call us for change, they call us to do something new. Like I remember when I quitted my job back in 2017 and me and Maya, my partner, decided to go to travel and to distance ourselves from our familiar lives. What started happening was that I've started intuitively sense what I want to do in my life. And often when people are wondering like how to find my passions, how to find what pulls me into the flow state, I like to say, well, go and do something completely differently than you've been doing until now. You can't just figure it out without changing anything. If you're not changing anything, you're staying the same, and if you're staying the same, you can't experience something new. So to me, the biggest change was when I quitted my job and I left everything I knew and I went to travel for a long time. We were saving money for 2 years or maybe even 3 years, so we were able to afford that. So it was pre-planned project, and the difference is now that everything is moving much faster, so people are experiencing this kind of wake up experiences in much faster pace, which means that maybe you don't need to do something I did before or many people did in the past, but you most probably need to do something that will help you to experience life in a different way, to visit a new place, to talk with new people, to start something new, to get yourself into a new hobby, or to just go into solitude for some time, to meet yourself and all the parts of yourself, the shadow parts of yourself, all that negative thinking you have towards yourself, and just, meet yourself and recognize who you are, recognize who you were, and recognize what you actually want to do, what may arise when you do things completely differently. Many people may be experiencing those things right now. And another thing that you may experience during this phase of transition is that you're not giving your power so much away anymore to any external force or any external sources of wisdom, of guidance, so much than your own guidance. And sure, you look up for them. and you learn from them and you study what they are teaching. But then you get back to yourself and you ask what resonates with you, and you use what resonates with you, because what resonates with you is you in verse, right? The song within you, the universe within yourself, the song that is moving you. And once you get in touch with the song that is moving you, you become the instrument of it, right? And once you become the instrument of that universal song that moves your heart, that makes your heart beating, you start playing with it. You become playful, you become more joyful, you become more creative, and you start producing something creative out of it. That's where you become the creator. So you're not forcing so much like how to change your reality and how to manifest something or whatever. You start moving with your creative ideas and you start producing your creative work. And maybe you connect it with logic, because what I see that is happening and what will be the future human being will be a being that has connected creativity with logic, that has connected left and right brain hemisphere. Someone who will be an artist, but also a scholar, but also a healer, and also a warrior. So we'll recognize that we're not just, one aspect. Like, I'm not just an artist, I'm also a philosopher. I'm not just a scholar, I'm also a poet. I'm not just a warrior, I'm also a deep thinker, and so on. We'll recognize that actually we are a being of different aspects, a being of different fragments. And as we find our essence, as we connect with our essence, we recognize that those are all our potentials and we want to embody all of them. Not all of us will be same way good at everything, but all of us will embody all of those different aspects, because only that way we become whole. Only that way we really can be everything that life wants us to be. Because you can recognize it practically. Like, if you're an artist, for example, and if you want to make a living out of what you're really passionate about, you also need to learn the aspect of business. And that is already a part of your logical thinking. You have to recognize how to promote your work. You have to recognize how to connect with people and build a website, for example, to present your work and to express yourself that way as well. This is the logic part of this work and expression. So we are already seeing in many different people, many scientists are coming out that are having great spiritual understanding. So this connection is already happening, and we'll see more of that. And that's, to me, the becoming of a new human being, which will be more whole and more complete. And that's where we will combine all those different segments together, the fractals that were being kind of shattered as we've been dividing ourselves for such a long time. For the last 2,160 years, we've been dividing ourselves in the age of Pisces. As we are slowly entering into the age of Aquarius, now we are learning to connect the right pieces back together and create a complete picture of what life is all about. And we recognize that each of us is an artist, each of us is a poet, each of us is a scientist, each of us is a scholar, a philosopher, as someone who knows how to think deeply but clearly, someone who knows how to use his or her ideas and make something out of it, someone who knows how to gather the right information so the understanding may be more clear, right? To have a sense of discernment, to see what makes sense and what is nonsense. So we kind of can filter our mind from thoughts that are low quality and we can start thinking more higher quality thoughts. And for that, we have to have a great sense of awareness. That's why the whole shift in consciousness is the shift or the expansion and strengthening of our awareness, the ability to stop distracting ourselves and start paying more attention to what is important to us. So when we wake up, we know what we want to focus on today. And when we start loosening this focus, this awareness, we in tune with ourselves and we ask ourselves what we need. Do we need to rest? Do we need to meditate? Do we need to talk with someone? Do we need to go out into nature and recharge ourselves so we can stay in touch with that inner intelligence? And that's why many people may also feel right now direct connection with the spirit. Because what is spirit? We call spirit this force that kind of connects us with the source. If the soul is this psychological and emotional system that makes us able to experience life, then spirit is a force that connects us with the source, that makes us feel more intuitive, that makes us feel more alive and makes us feel a part of the whole. And once you start to feel this connection with the source, you will notice that you are actually not an individual here, but actually wholeness, having an individual experience, having a name, but the name is just something that defines your individuality or describes your individuality, but you know that you're actually everything, that you're everyone. When you're talking with someone, you're actually talking with yourself in another form, in another experience of life, with a whole another story. So when you're judging someone, you're actually judging yourself. And when you see something bad in someone else, it's just a reflection of something you would describe bad within yourself. That's why it's so easy to judge others, because you know exactly what you don't like about that person, because that's what you don't like about yourself. That's why Native Americans said, and Mayans people said, and shamans said that your external life is a mirror of your internal life. And we have these hermetic principles, and one principle says that as above, so below, as within, so without. So when you recognize that when your mind sees something that is wrong, it will reflect only back to you what you think that is wrong within you. And when you start loving yourself and accepting yourself a little bit more, you will notice that you will start accepting others and loving others a little bit more. That's how everything reflects. And once a person becomes aware of this infinite reflection, you recognize that when you become more spiritual, you start to see spirit in everything. When you become more loving, you start to feel love in everything. When you become more kind, you start to experience more kindness in everything. But kindness doesn't mean to force it because you have this people-pleasing pattern. The generous kindness is that you act out of kindness, not because you want something in return, but because you want the best for others. And once you want the best for others, you don't expect anything in return because you just want the best for others. That's where kindness becomes really, really generous. And as we are ascending on this conscious level, we are naturally becoming more kind. We are naturally becoming more connected to one another, sensing one another. We start sensing more, we start seeing more, we start feeling more, and we start knowing more. So you kind of recognize when you talk with those people who are already on that higher level, you recognize that it feels like you know them for eternity. Have you experienced that? You talk with someone who's let's say on a similar level than you, and it just feels like you know that person, even you've met that person for the first time, it just feels like you know him or her. Because you have that generous connection. And generous connection is soulful connection. And soul doesn't know time. So it's timeless connection. And timeless connection means that it's eternal, right? I know you for eternity. That's why we feel like, you know, I just know you. Even if I just met you. And that connection is really, really beautiful. So many more signs are right now possible to be experienced. Like you start to sense that everything physical is the body of God, the body of Creator, the Source. You start to sense everything as a part of divine. You start to sense love and freedom that are the fundamental core values on which you're building your life. So you build your life on love, on connection, on freedom. You do what makes you more free, right? Or you aim towards doing more of what makes you free, and you start building your life around it. So those become your main values for life, principles to live by. And if that is you, it's a sign that you're ascending, that you're shifting, and go with that, flow with that, and keep reflecting on yourself, because we're still in this transition where it's easy to be distracted and to be pulled out of this stream. That's why we have to be conscious and aware to make sure that we are not being controlled by our emotional impulses so much, then we are being in control of our awareness. And to be in control, I don't mean to be artificial and to force something, but rather that just to pay attention to what makes you feel balanced, what makes you feel relaxed, what makes you feel at peace with yourself, what makes you feel creative, what makes you feel inspired, what makes you feel at ease with yourself. And what is pulling you out of there? And sure, some things will still make you feel anxious, and some things will still make you feel afraid. But you have to reflect on those things. Will those things help you to grow, to expand, to be more alive, to be more acknowledged and wiser? And if yes, go and grab them, go and do them. But keep awareness of your core energy. Keep grounding yourself, keep meditating, paying attention to who you are becoming, and having that vision into whom you're evolving yourself to be, and what's that ideal life you want to live. So you have something like a destination on the map to which you're walking towards. So you can be as a visionary that is walking towards the future that is created by you. My friends, this is it for today. I'm sending you lots of love, blessings, and power. Have a beautiful day. Thanks to all of you for supporting my art in our Etsy shop, I Draw My Passion. The link is in the description of this video, so thank you so much for your support. With that, you are supporting this mission. And till next time, one love.